Hello, everybody. Good morning. It is Saturday, January 27th. This is an early morning episode before we get to tomorrow's Championship Sunday in the NFL. Welcome back, everybody. This is High Street Sports episode 43. And like I said, it is championship weekend in the NFL. Unfortunately, sad there's only 2 weeks of real football left with a week of flag football in the middle of it. But speed is on, full speed ahead to Las Vegas. We have the AFC and NFC Championship games this weekend, which should be some pretty good games. And then we've got some head coaching stuff to talk about. A couple head coaching vacancies were filled in the last 72 hours, so we'll get that stuff out of the way. My name is Chris. This is John Ross, and like I said, this is the championship weekend episode of High Street Sports. John Ross, what's going on, man? How you doing? How you feeling about this week's worth of championship games?
Yeah, like you said, some good games this weekend. A lot of potential to have some really good conference championship games. Some good games before in the divisional round to get us here. Lions and Bucks was a good game. Niners and Packers was a good game. Ravens and Texans was a good game up until the second half. When
it was a good game until it wasn't.
After Lamar's colorful language-filled halftime speech to his team, and then Chiefs and Bills lived up to the billing. Probably the best game of the weekend. But yeah, it's like you said, sad. There's only 2 weeks of real football left with that Pro Bowl sandwiched in between there. Yawn. But yeah, we're still here. We're still here to talk about it. Football's still here. Enjoy it while we can. Yeah, like some coaching hires like you talked about.
Yeah, so the Chargers went ahead and made the however long that was, 5-day rumor mill of Jim Harbaugh official. And it seems as though Jim is planning on bringing defensive coordinator Jesse Minter and his brother Jay Harbaugh with him onto the Chargers staff. None of that has been made official yet. I think he just had his last team meeting with Michigan yesterday to let them know, have fun with the sanctions and whatever else is coming from the NCAA. But that's a conversation for a different day. Jim Harbaugh gets his long anticipated NFL job after looking the last 5 off seasons. And he is finally back in the NFL to pursue his long wanted Super Bowl championship. So, big things happening for the Chargers. I mean, personal opinions aside, I mean, he is a pretty damn good football coach, and it is going to be interesting to see his personality back in the NFL and to see how that works out.
You could make the argument he's being born on third base in the NFL with all the talent the Chargers have.
Again, another conversation for a different day. But, it seems as though, the Chargers do have, like you mentioned, a lot of talent. He is inheriting a pretty damn good quarterback that hasn't really lived up to some expectation, I guess. But, still is a pretty good quarterback in the NFL, and Justin Herbert. Keenan Allen is still there, and they've got some pretty good pieces elsewhere around that team. So, I mean, he's got a foundation there for sure. A lot of people are saying, he, I guess, told Michigan yesterday that he wants the Chargers to become Michigan West, which, whatever, I don't know what that means, but he's got the pieces there, and he's got a foundation there. I think they are getting a new GM, if I'm not mistaken, unless that was him. I don't know if he got that kind of control or whatever the details are.
Yeah, I think the word is he's going to try to bring the guy he had in San Francisco over. I don't think his last name is Douglas. I can't think of his full name off the top of my head.
So, I mean, you got to think if they can recreate, a little bit of that same success that they had in San Francisco, then they'll be in pretty good shape with the Chargers. So, remains to be seen if that can be turned around quickly. Obviously the Chargers, we've talked about this in the past, like a team that is good on paper every single year. And then, probably for the past 3 or 4 years, have, always kind of dealt with some injury issues and some off the field contract issues that hold players out or what have you. So kind of an unlucky team in some respects, but, hopefully they can get turned around and get back on the right track. And, that's a lot of really good players over there. And obviously it'd be cool to see Keenan win one or, do anything cool in the playoffs or whatever. So, but that was one head coaching vacancy that was filled. The other being in Carolina. Carolina gets the offensive coordinator from the Buccaneers, whose name we just talked about, and I can't remember.
Dave Canales.
Dave Canales, who I did see was the only active Hispanic head coach in the league now, with Ron Rivera being canned in Washington. So pretty cool there. You, the resident Carolina Panthers fan, what are your initial thoughts here? I know you said your expectations will be tempered, but what do you think initially about
They'll
this
be
hire?
tempered.
They will be tempered.
Yeah. I'm TBD on everything with them. Like, I mean, on the face, it looks like a good hire, but last year looked like a good hire too, and we saw how that turned out. So I'm TBD on everything with them until they prove that they can win football games. Just like I talked about earlier, before we started this, he's going to kind of run the West Coast offense, which is similar to what Bryce ran at Alabama, but they got to fix the offensive line if they want any hope of Bryce reaching his full potential, whatever that may be. And, new GM Dan Morgan's got to do a lot of stuff this offseason to get in the good graces of Panther fans, because they're not in a good spot. No first-round pick, not a lot of cap space, some bad contracts here and there, guys who need to get paid, who want to get paid, don't necessarily need to get paid by us.
Yeah.
But we'll see. I'm TBD. I mean, he's saying all the right things. People have a lot of good things to say about him. He's done really good things for Geno Smith and Baker Mayfield the past few years, but we'll just have to see.
One thing that I was interested, I saw a report that came out maybe Monday or Tuesday that said that Mike Vrabel was going to meet with Carolina on either Wednesday or Thursday. And to me, this head coaching hire was announced on Thursday, right?
Yep.
And to me, like, either that report was just wrong or they met with Vrabel, and obviously if the two sides didn't come to an agreement, or it didn't match up, then that's whatever. But interesting, at least for me, that Vrabel was mentioned, and the day that he was mentioned to interview was the day that they hired this guy. So he's still available, which was a weird thing to me.
Yeah, there's
I guess
a lot of still really good candidates out there for head coaches.
Yeah, and not a lot of jobs left, I guess. So
yeah, because the Falcons
New England's hired, Falcons have hired, y'all have hired, and now the Chargers have hired. So
just the Seahawks and the Raiders too. They hired Antonio Pierce.
Yeah.
So you got.
Did the Commanders fill or no?
No, it seems like they're going to the word is Ben Johnson to them is almost a lock, which could be really big for them, especially with having the number 2 pick in the draft coming up.
Yeah, so some interesting head coaching situations around the league, some being figured out, some still yet to be figured out. We will have that news when it comes. But like I said in the beginning, it is championship weekend in the NFL. So 2 very good games coming at us. And as you mentioned, some pretty good games last week. Man, I just can't help but think back to the conversation that we had at the beginning of the season about Jordan Love and the Packers. And then, towards the middle, it kind of got shaky. And then they figured it out. And it really seems like Packers fans are set up for, the next couple of years anyways, with Jordan Love and, the team that they've kind of put together, and Aaron Jones and Romeo Dobbs and those receivers and that defense, man. Like, even when they made that Kenny Clark pick years ago, like, given the situation, obviously everybody knows the Packers draft history and the way that they've not really picked any offensive players and have chosen to go the defensive route so many years. But Kenny Clark, man, has been a solid solid piece there for the interior line of the Packers. And he had a really good game last week, and Rashawn Gary and the other guys that they have on defense. So Packers seem to impress and seem like they're built for the future with Matt LaFleur. Come up short though in a game that they probably should have won. But tough break there. But it seems as though we've got probably the 4 best teams out of both of these conferences put together. So I'll let you go ahead and captain the rest of this conversation about these championship games.
Yeah. First up, the AFC Championship game this tomorrow at 3 p.m. on CBS. We got the Chiefs traveling to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Chiefs coming off the win this week in Buffalo. Really good game there. Resilient win for the Chiefs. A lot of people thought they would lose that one. It's Patrick Mahomes' first road playoff game in his career, which is crazy to think about still. A cold game in Buffalo too, playing in front of the Mafia. But they got the win. Bills screwed the pooch there at the end with a wide right field goal by Tyler Bass. Josh Allen couldn't make the plays he some people would argue he should have to get them the win right there. I would argue there were some plays out there he should have made. Other players too, like Stephon Diggs not catching that ball.
Stephon Diggs has to catch that ball, dude.
Josh Allen threw a country mile.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Rumor has it that ball still hasn't come down yet.
Yeah. But Mahomes and Chiefs got the win. Resilient win, like I said. Before we get into more discussion on this AFC Championship game, we need to – I was guilty of doing it. We need to stop comparing Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to Manning versus Brady. It's not there. Like, Josh Allen hasn't won anything. And I like Josh Allen, but he's still got a lot to prove if he can win the big games. But yeah, that's getting a little bit sidetracked. But yeah, and then Chiefs traveling to Baltimore, play the number 1 seed Ravens, who took care of the Texans last week. It was 10-10 at halftime. And Lamar Jackson was clearly upset after a few plays in the first half, screaming at his offensive line. He took a few sacks. And he said he gave a very colorful halftime speech, and the Ravens came out and played like they got chewed out at halftime, blew the doors off the Texans, offense and defense. Lamar had 152 yards passing for 2 touchdowns, 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, just further proving why he's the MVP this year. Defense played really well. And then, this week they get back Mark Andrews at tight end, which is huge for them. Him and Isaiah, and especially with the way Isaiah Likely's been playing since filling in for Andrews. And they're probably likely, John Harbaugh said he's pretty confident Marlon Humphrey, their star cornerback, is going to be back this week. So it's all hands on deck for the Ravens this week. They should mostly full strength. As far as injuries for the Chiefs, Joe Toney, offensive lineman, probably isn't going to play. It's a big loss for Kansas City, especially against that Baltimore defense. Isaiah Pacheco is questionable, but he's likely going to play. Kadarius Toney's questionable. I'm sure Patrick Mahomes doesn't care if he plays or not.
I don't think Chiefs Nation cares if he plays or not.
But no, like I said, 3 p.m. tomorrow on CBS. Baltimore's favored -4 in this one. Just getting into predictions and picks. This could be a very good game, but I texted you this last week after the end of the Bills-Chiefs game. Just watching that game, I couldn't stop thinking to myself, man, Baltimore is going to beat the hell out of who. I don't care who wins this game. Baltimore is going to steamroll whoever plays this game. And I've had a week to think about it. I'm holding firm on that. I think the Ravens are going to beat the shit out of the Chiefs tomorrow. It may be a good game for about halftime, but I think the Ravens are just going to unload on them and get the win. And I'm going to pick the Ravens, and my score prediction is 34-20 Ravens. When if and when Roquan Smith and Isaiah Pacheco meet in a tackle, it's going to shake the space-time continuum. Roquan Smith, man, he's a big man. I'm fully confident saying he's the best linebacker in the NFL, one of the best defensive players in the NFL. I haven't seen a linebacker as good as him. I'm not saying he's better than him, but I haven't seen a linebacker since him, like him, since Luke Kuechly. He's everywhere on the field, and that whole Ravens defense is playing lights out. They got Kyle Hamilton back there at safety. They'll get Marlon Humphrey back this week. And, Lamar, they have this is a huge game for Lamar, just like last week was. Lamar needs this win this week, especially against a QB of Mahomes caliber. Almost said McCaliber. Lamar really needs this win to get the Ravens Super Bowl, and I think it's going to happen. Ravens flock this week, like I said, 34-20 in a really, really big win at M&T Bank Stadium, which is going to be rocking tomorrow, even though it's going to be chilly and it's going to be raining, but they're going to be rocking regardless.
Yeah, and I think, you hit on a lot of it, man. Like, after that halftime, it seemed like a completely different Ravens team. So I guess for me, excuse me, it all comes down to which Ravens team are you going to get? Are you going to get the first half Ravens from last week, or are you going to get the second half Ravens from last week? And the only thing that worries me about the Ravens is if you let Patrick Mahomes, and obviously, this isn't the same Chiefs team that we're used to seeing in the last, since Patrick Mahomes has been the starter. But they still have Travis Kelce. They still have Isaiah Pacheco, for what it's worth, has become a pretty, important player for them. And they still have a really good defense. Again, maybe not up to the same standards of what it has been, but it's still a really good defense.
This is the best defense Patrick Mahomes has ever had.
Yeah, and it comes to a situation where I think if the Ravens get stuck in neutral like they did last week in the first half, and if they aren't able to get out of that, then it is going to be tough for the Ravens to pull that one off, even if it is at home. And um, but I am on the verge of eating my words about Lamar. So last week really did a lot for that for me. But I think this is the week that I think you really see what Lamar is really made out of. And obviously, like, there's still another one if they win this one. This feels like a bit of a legacy postseason for Lamar. And I don't know if that's fair. I don't know if that's manufactured by the media or whatever the case is, but it does have a bit of a legacy feel to me. Him trying to shake some narratives, and one that I've continued, which is he can't throw the ball to win the game, but a lot of times they don't have to. And obviously he's a dynamic runner. He showed that last week. He's able to make plays with his feet when he needs it, and he can supplement that with his arm. But I think this is a game where he's really going to need to maybe make some plays with his feet, but he's also going to need to throw the ball. We'll see how much he can throw the ball with the conditions the way they're going to be tomorrow. So it might even the playing field a little bit. I think, like I said, if they get stuck in neutral, it might be a long day for the Ravens, or it might be a really good game. But I don't think that'll happen. I think, they'll be ready to go. Their defense is unbelievable.
Yeah, I think even if the offense does kind of start slow, I think their defense will help them out until they can get it going and slow Mahomes and the Chiefs down, especially with, like, you could call this a down year for the Chiefs offense. And think about Lamar, man, like I said it last week, a lot of early in his career, and that, like, especially the MVP year, he was running just to run. Like, if his first read wasn't there, he's taking off. Now he's really only running when he absolutely has to, or when the play call is designed for that. Yeah. And like, he's never going to blow you away with his passing yard numbers. He'll have a 300, 400 yard game sprinkled in here and there. But I mean, I think people lose sight of it. He makes a lot of the right throws now, like, especially like, he only had 152 yards passing last week, but no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. I'll take that.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't turn the ball over, then you're in good shape.
They have that stable of backs behind him. We've got Justice Hill and Gus Edwards.
Yeah. So I mean, they've got weapons, and they've got a defense that is good. And I mean, obviously, like, the Chiefs are no stranger to the cold. They're no stranger to a loud stadium. But when you're on the other end of that, and especially with as loud as M&T Bank Stadium was last week, that's going to be tough for the Chiefs to deal with. So I'm going to side with you. I don't know if it'll be quite that big of a margin of victory. I'll go more of like a 10-point win. I think it'll be like 27-17. So I'm going to pick the Ravens as well, as much as that hurts me. But I do like what they've got going, and I, again, like, that stadium is electric. The defense is electric. Lamar is electric. And I think this will be the end of the road for the Chiefs. First time they haven't, really lived up to the expectation on offense in some time. And I think it's really going to bite them in the butt.
So we're both on the flock this weekend. Then moving on to the NFC Championship game tomorrow at 6:30 on Fox. We got the Detroit Lions traveling to San Francisco to play the number 1 seed 49ers. Detroit coming off big win last week against the Bucks at home. And then the 49ers coming off a late game win against the Packers last week. Talked about Jordan Love. He heard the Brett Favre. He let the Brett Favre intrusive thoughts get to him and sling it down the field.
Just one thing, man. Like, you cannot on the run throw the ball across your body. Like, you just can't do it. Eat it. But throw the ball away. Do something.
But I think this should be a good game too. I've been hard on Brock Purdy. I'm not going to waver on the fact that I still don't think he's this elite quarterback that everyone makes him out to be. I think he's a product of his system. He's very well insulated, but he made the plays he had to last week. After the majority of the game, he was not good. But yeah, as far as injuries go, Lions will be without Jonah Jackson, their offensive lineman. He had a meniscus tear. Frank Ragnow will play. He's got a sprained ankle, a sprained tooth, sprained neck, sprained every. He's got a lot. He's banged up, but that dude's a warrior. He's going to play. He's seen a lot of losing in that Lions uniform. He's playing. You bet your ass he's playing in this game.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the other side, Debo apparently is going to play. It sounds like he's 50-50 with a shoulder injury. How effective he'll be, it remains to be seen. If I had to guess, I feel like Shanahan's going to use him as a decoy a lot because, I mean, shoulder injury is tough, especially when it looked as bad as it was last week when he had to come out of the game. But you still got McCaffrey, Ayuk, and George Kittle over there. It's going to be on Brock Purdy, though, to deliver and make the right plays like he has for the majority of the year, make it like get the ball to his playmakers and let them make the plays. But San Francisco favored -7 in this one. With how banged up the Lions' offensive line is, the easy pick for me would be to pick the 49ers with that defense, with Nick Bosa, Chase Young, Frank Warner, all those guys. However, I'm going to roll with MCDC, Dan Campbell, and the Detroit Lions to continue this magical season they're having. Dan Campbell had a vision when he came to his first press conference with the Lions. He's bringing all that to fruition right now. I believe in Dan Campbell. I believe in this Lions team. Jared Goff is playing really, really well. They have tons of weapons on offense. I think the offense, the Niners defense is very talented, but I think they haven't lived the past last week and the last few games of the regular season. They weren't as elite as people would think they would be, and I just like this Lions team, man. I like they're led by a true leader in Dan Campbell, and I think he's going to push them through and get to the Super Bowl. Where's the Super Bowl at this year?
In Las Vegas.
Yeah, he's going to get them to Vegas to play the Ravens in the Super Bowl. But yeah, give me Detroit in this one. I'm going to go 28-24 Lions.
Yeah, and I can see that, and I really like what they've been able to do. Like, obviously, like you said, Dan Campbell is I mean, he coach of the year in my opinion. I don't really think there's any question about that. They play for him, like you and I have said multiple times. Like, that's a guy that you would step in front of a bus for, and I think
if he didn't do it before you.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. Like, I think everybody in that locker room would all do that for Dan. I mean, he's captivated that room. He's captivated that city that needs it. And he has really brought something back to the Lions that they've been missing for a long, long time. And, that's just competitiveness. And that's the hunger to win. That's the want to win. That's the want to do whatever it takes to win. And, they've shown all year long, even when they kind of had their slump and, they came back from it and got hot right in the right time before the playoffs and even during the playoffs. So that's a team that you can't really sleep on. But then you look on the other side, man, and I just can't help but, even with Debo being in the position he's in, and he might play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage this week and maybe, do some of those jet sweeps and stuff like that just to get him the ball in his hands. But, you figure if he takes a big hit, how many hits he can take at all in that situation. So, you might be more on the right side there with them using him as a decoy, but he's still going to command attention, which is going to open up the field for everybody else. And, Christian McCaffrey, if there's an MVP on that team, I would venture to say that it's Christian McCaffrey and not Brock Purdy. So, he's damn good. He can get the ball out of the backfield. He can catch it, run it, run people over, block, do whatever he needs to do. And then, as you mentioned, George Kittle and Ayuk and everybody else that they have. So I think this game being in San Francisco, obviously you see how close Green Bay got last week to pulling it off. But I think this game being in San Francisco is going to be what kind of sways this. That number is unbelievable. I mean, I understand that the Lions have some injury questions and stuff like that, but 7, that's a big spread in a championship game to me. And you got to imagine that number has been plastered all over their facility all week. So Dan Campbell's not going to let him
tattooed on his ass or something.
On his forehead, maybe. Yeah. So I would think that's some pretty hefty bulletin board material, and the Lions are going to use that to their advantage. I think this one comes down to a last-second field goal or something late in the game again. So, I'm thinking, and again, here we go with which quarterback do you trust more? And after we both kind of share the same opinion about Brock Purdy, man,
Jared Goff's a dog, man.
this is a tough one. Yeah, I mean, it's been a career resurgence.
He's proved me wrong this year. He's another guy
Mm-hmm.
who's proved me wrong. I kind of
absolutely
wrote him off after he got traded to the Lions. Like, he's a stopgap. They'll draft
everybody did.
Yeah, he's captivated that city too. They're chanting his name in Ford Field. He's that team's quarterback. He's that team's leader, and he's making the right plays. He's playing his ass off. He's playing like an elite quarterback. And it's not lost on me either. Like the Packers, going into the postseason, they had a very bad defense. I knew they had a really good performance against the Cowboys, and they held their own against the Niners last week. That isn't lost on me that Brock Purdy and those guys struggled against it. Like the Lions don't have a great defense either, but it's a little bit better than the Packers. And they've got some playmakers over there in Aiden Hutchinson, Jack Campbell, and CJ Gardner-Johnson. And I think Dan Campbell is him and Aaron Glenn have been watching tape of that game last week and just figuring out ways to exploit Brock Purdy's weaknesses. And number one, I mean, any quarterback, you get them on the ground enough, they're going to struggle. And I think that'll be a big key to this game. Can they get to Brock Purdy and rattle him?
Yeah. And I think, as we've mentioned, like Brock Purdy without Deebo Samuel is not that great, but I think you can, and obviously you can make that argument for anybody.
I'm not saying any coaches are saying hurt anybody, but it's like football is a physical game, and those guys, like when they know a guy's banged up, they're not going to intentionally try to go for like their injured spot. They're going to try to lay the wood on you though.
Oh yeah, I mean, if they're
going to make you feel that shit every time.
You're playing. It's fair game. Like I think that's been lost on a lot of people in the media, and everybody else has these narratives about what football's become and how to make the game safer and how to do this and how to do that. And I'm not saying that player safety is not important, but to your point, like football is a physical game, and if you don't want to play it, you don't want to watch it, then go do something else. But I mean, to your point, like they're not going to go out there and inherently try to hurt somebody, but it's known that you've got an ailment, and if you have the ball in your hands, I mean,
even if you don't have an ailment, I
mean, football is football.
I don't know if you saw going back to the Ravens. I don't know if you saw Roquan Smith mic'd up last week against the Texans. CJ Stroud was running and got down, and Roquan Smith was they were coming toward each other, and CJ got down, and Roquan said, "You better get your ass down." CJ made a business decision. That's the last man I want to get hit by in the open field.
Football's football, brother. And like I said, if you don't like watching it, you don't want to play it, you don't like that kind of violence, turn it the hell off because it ain't for you. But we here at High Street Sports love it. So that's not the case. But I mean, I think, a lot of it's going to come down to what Deebo is able to do. But for me in this situation, I like the matchup with Christian McCaffrey and the Lions defense. And I think that there's going to be, opportunities for McCaffrey to make plays. I mean, obviously there's opportunities for him to make plays every week. But this week, I think it's imperative given, what's going on. That'll open it up for, George Kittle and Ayuk to make plays and vice versa. So, I mean, you take Deebo out of the question, which obviously is, probably their second biggest weapon.
You wonder if Dan Campbell's a smart dude. He's smarter than us. Like you wonder if he's thinking the same thing we are. Like with how you don't know how banged up Deebo is. Are they going to use him as more of a decoy? You got to wonder if Dan Campbell's thinking that too. And it's like, okay, like if you guys aren't going to try to use him to beat us, we're going to sell out to stop McCaffrey.
Yeah,
I mean that still leaves Kittle and Ayuk to deal with, but you feel a little bit better. Like selling out to stop McCaffrey versus selling out to stop one of them two.
Oh, I would 1,000% sell out to stop the run, stack the box, and make Brock Purdy throw the ball. Because I mean, like as we've talked about, like crossers, the short routes, and,
Yeah,
and
he's
getting
not going
Debo the
to.
ball in
It's very
space,
rare
and
he's going to throw a deep ball and like
make him throw the ball downfield. Like
yeah,
make him push the ball downfield, make him, try to have the 49ers run seam routes and stuff for Kittle to get him the ball downfield. Like make it uncomfortable as uncomfortable as you can for Brock Purdy, because that's what's ultimately standing in between you and Las Vegas and going and play for a Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
but like I said, like I like, and you bring up a good point about selling out to stop the run, and I'm sure that's going to be a possibility. But again, like Shanahan is gonna find a way to get McCaffrey the ball,
Yeah.
whether that's bubble screens, whether that's sending him on routes, which he can do. So I just, to me now, with Deebo Samuel being in the situation that he's in, the X factor in this is Christian McCaffrey, and I think I like that matchup with Detroit's defense, even with the other two weapons that San Francisco has. So I think there's still a little bit too much for Detroit to be able to deal with. And now listen, again, like you see that, I'm not going to root for any team from Michigan openly, but I do like Dan Campbell a lot. So I mean, this I think could be a bit of a coin flip. I don't think at all that it's going to be the 7-point spread that Vegas seems to think. I think that number is ridiculous. Go ahead.
One more storyline I didn't even think about. As it's known, the 49ers have playmakers all over the defense, especially at defensive end, Bosa and Chase Young. They are not great at stopping the run. And the Lions have David Montgomery, and Jahmyr Gibbs he's starting to turn it on and prove why they reached so far up in the first round to get him at 13.
Yeah, and that's why I think that -7 or 7.5, I've even seen it, is absolutely ridiculous in an NFC Championship game. Now, like, albeit like, the Chiefs are -4 on the road in Baltimore, and I just don't. I don't. For me, 7.5 or 7 is a big number.
Yeah,
and that I think isn't going to be the case. I think it's going to be a field goal game. I'm going to go. Did you give a score prediction?
I did 28-24 Lions.
28-24. I like that a lot. I think it might even be a little bit more higher scoring than that. I'm gonna go. I'll go 31-27. But I think the 49ers are going to be able to pull it out. I think Christian McCaffrey has the potential to have a big game, and it is going to be incumbent upon the 49ers defense to be able to make enough plays for Chase Young and Nick Bosa to be able to get to the quarterback, make Jared Goff uncomfortable. And then likewise, if the Lions can do that and get in Brock Purdy's face and make him uncomfortable, then, I think the Lions could win that game too. But again, my X factor in this game is going to be Christian McCaffrey. I think he's going to have a big one. I think he's, somewhere up near 150 yards, maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns. And then I think he's going to have a pretty big game receiving the ball too. So, but man, it's going to be fun to watch. I mean, it's a little bit more of the same with the Chiefs, but I think it's nice to have some new blood in there with the Lions and Ravens, and see if they can make a play to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I picked kind of somewhat of a blowout in the AFC Championship game, but yeah, I think the NFC Championship game is going to be really good.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of these games have the potential to be damn good games.
Yeah, but I got Ravens, Lions in my Super Bowl, which is wild to say. I mean, more so saying not the Ravens. I picked them to win Super Bowl at the beginning of the year, but the Lions I think that'd be good for the league to have a Super Bowl like that. It's something different. And you picked the Niners at the beginning of the year. You picked the Bengals.
I did.
You picked the Niners to go to the Super Bowl, didn't you?
Yep.
Okay,
so we each
Niners,
have one
Ravens.
team. One team standing.
I'd be happy with any Super Bowl matchup we get out of these.
Oh yeah,
out of these two conference championship games. But yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, and then you give both whoever makes it. I'm at this point in a football season, every team is going to be dealing with some injuries. So you give both of the teams that make it a week and a half ish to get healthy and prepared and meet in Vegas and put a cap on this NFL season. So we've got like we said, about 2.5 weeks, 2.5 Sundays left of some quality football coming. Unbelievable how fast it's went. So that was your championship weekend preview from High Street Sports. Any final thoughts before we get out of here, sir?
Nope, that's it. Excited for these games tomorrow. Sad that football is almost over, but enjoy what we have left because August will be here before you know it.
Yeah, and it never stops, man. And it's just like keeping up with all the college football news and whatever's happening there. I mean, it's football has truly turned into a year-round sport, so which is good. I mean, it's everybody's sport that they love. And there was I can't remember which betting site the commercial is for, but it's like make sure to get your bets in before this football Sunday turns into a Sunday in March or something like that. And it's absolutely true. It's almost done. So, guys, thank you so much. We are 11 subs away from 100. So keep pushing that button and get us there before the end of the Super Bowl. That is your job. That is my homework that I'm giving you. So if you're watching this, which a lot of you, most of you that watch this are not subbed, obviously fix that. It's free. Press the sub button. It's right here somewhere.
It says subscribe too. So
along the way, it's somewhere down here. So press it. It's free to you. Even if you never watch us, just press the button. It'll help us get to more people. Share, like, comment, all those good things. The more engagement, the better we do. So we appreciate you guys being here up into this point. It is championship weekend in the NFL. Super Bowl is coming. We appreciate you guys for being here. For John Ross, my name is Chris. This was High Street Sports. We'll see you on the next one.